And good afternoon, everyone. First of all, thanks to Center for Digital Built for inviting us and giving us the opportunity to present ourselves and our experience working with the BIM. So my name is Mileta Pejović, and currently I work as a senior BIM manager at BEXEL Consulting, but I'm an architect actually, and during the experience and the work that I was involved, actually I became BIM manager, and today I will share my experience working on a FIFA football stadium in Qatar. So this video, for the beginning, I want to show you one of the outcomes of, let's say, part of BIM implementation and possibilities of using different aspects of BIM. So previously we heard a lot about designing process, building process, and different software and platform which basically our colleagues using for development, designing, and building. But in this case, I wanted to show you how we can also use BIM models and information within these BIM files to plan and execute simulation of construction much longer, or let's say much earlier than the construction itself starts at the site. And this video here is actually created 6 years ago, somewhere around 2016, beginning at 2016, when only at the site we only had the foundations, let's say, started on site, and everything else was just a plan. And this video is one of the first videos which was presented to our, let's say, main client. In this case, the main client for the project was State of Qatar. So before sharing my experience, I want to very briefly show, or actually explain about our company. We are BEXEL Consulting, and we are BIM consulting company, but also at the same time we are providing and creating software, or we are development company. And the platform that we are using for our services and for our projects is called BIM Manager, which is, let's say, a really comprehensive platform for the BIM management. And I also wanted to show you that our company is included in more than 70 different countries around the globe, and some of these, let's say, countries we are present as a consulting company, and some of these are actually using our BIM platform for their everyday work. Our software is a unique integrated BIM platform, as I mentioned before, which is capable for executing different types of analysis through entire of, let's say, a life cycle of one project, and from the initial setup, from the, let's say, design, 3D analysis, BIM checks and collision detections on the projects, and then calculating and extracting quantities from the BIM files, adding cost estimation component as well, and finally creating construction schedules, plans, and at the beginning, at the end, basically, when the construction is finished, you can also use it for facility maintenance and planning of your additional costs during the maintenance phase. The name of the stadium that I want to present today is Ahmad bin Ali, but during the construction, the name of that project was called Al Rayyan, and that was the name of the city district of Doha where this project is located. The stadium itself was built on the site of old Al Rayyan Stadium football club, and the old stadium was a capacity of around 20,000 seats, and the new one, the new building that you are currently seeing, actually was created when the old one is demolished. And this one has capacity of 40,000 seats. And it was built during the period of 2016 to 2020. So keep in mind that all these things were actually used quite a long time ago. And I wanted to actually just mention that part of the seats were pre-assembled, and once the Football Cup is finished, part of the seats will be, let's say, removed and donated to some other football stadium in Doha. A few general information about the stadium. As you may see, the project actually is quite large. It contains not just the stadium itself, but also entire sport complex that's surrounding it, including these pathways, parking, and electrical substation. And on these photos, you may see that we have some few 3D renderings, but also real photos of the stadium during different stages of construction. And the planned budget for the stadium was quite high, but that's because the stadium was designed according to the latest LEED standard at that time, and also according to the strict FIFA regulations. And interesting thing is that it has an air conditioning system, so all the seats, or let's say the temperature for the audience will not exceed 21 to 25 Celsius degrees, which is pretty cool for that region. So about our scope and the challenges on the project, our company basically was hired primarily to provide BIM management services for the main contractor, and the main contractor was L&T, or Larsen & Toubro company from India. So as usually, one of the first challenges was to educate everyone in the project about the BIM processes, benefits of implementation, to share our knowledge, while at the same time the project is being executed. And on the other hand, it was really helpful that the Supreme Committee, which is, let's say, a public institution of Qatari, had already developed really comprehensive and detailed BIM requirements. And these requirements were mainly based on PAS 1192 standard, which was previously used until new ISO standard is actually created. And it was based on this standard as well. So all the project related to the World Cup in Doha basically was or needed to be done using BIM processes. And it was controlled by this Supreme Committee institution. Another challenge on such a large project is also a large number of project participants. And in this project, at the early stages for design development, we had around 30 subcontractors and subcontractors from different countries participating in design and execution. And the main company, which was actually coordinating design process, was KSS and Pattern Architects from United Kingdom. And the main designers for steel was a company from Germany called SBP. And for construction of concrete works, we have design company from Poland called M&W. And for MEP services, we had the main design company, Horelli, also from Great Britain. So all the design processes were executed in different BIM platforms. And so actually, in order to respond to all requirements from Qatari, we need to apply modern digital technologies for design, project management, execution, and also for control on this project. And as I already mentioned, we use different BIM processes for different purposes, and we use different platforms. Mainly Autodesk, Bentley, and Trimble were used for design. BIM files were also used for specialized software for specific, let's say, advanced analysis, such as lightning, crowd simulations, energy at thermal analysis. And also, we set up document management system, which was really important at that time, because at that time, BIM 360 was quite new platform. It was actually established, I believe, 2015. So it was just a first revision, and it wasn't good enough as today. So we used a new format internally to collaborate and exchange documents between design teams and main contractors. And also we used project-wise externally to send all the documents which was controlled and approved to the client, which is again Qatari Supreme Committee. Important thing for such a large project as this one is to properly organize BIM files and segregate models so everyone can use it without any issues. So we decided to segregate this project into separate models by disciplines, usually, and even because of the quite big size of the project, we needed to separate even further. So each model was exported into multiple IFC files based on, let's say, underground and elements which are above ground, or superstructure and substructure elements. And during design stage, each model is actually changed and provided to subcontractors every week. So we received around, let's say, maybe 50 or so BIM files every week to verify and check. And in the later stages, when subcontractors came on board, we had more than 30 subcontractors, and each subcontractors needed to divide their models even further. So they needed to create shop drawings and BIM files for each stage, let's say, phase of the stadium itself, which has 6 phases, and each phase based on different level. And it has 4 levels above ground and 2 levels below ground. So it was, when you multiply that, it becomes around 300 BIM files every week, which we needed to check. One of the first things that we needed to perform upon receiving these BIM files was checking their content, compliance with the naming and naming convention, and performing, let's say, different BIM checks related to information or the properties which are inbuilt into these 3D elements. For these purposes, we mainly used BEXEL Manager, our platform, and Solibri for, let's say, geometry control, BEXEL Manager for property and information control. And one of the benefits was that we were able to actually color code these elements based on different properties, as you may see here for, let's say, structural concrete slabs or reinforcement. We could colorize the elements based on their volume, based on their area where the elements are located, based on a specific ID of each element which is used for construction and so on. Just a few, let's say, interesting facts is the facade was done using Rhino and Grasshopper for generative design, and the shape is made from 14 different traditional Qatari ornament, which was actually organized in such a way to create a nice shape. Also, architectural models are used for very comprehensive analysis related to crowd simulation, and also we were marking, or design team was marking potential areas of risk. So everyone was aware where are some risk areas for workers and the public. Another very important aspect related to design was ability to easily inspect areas or spaces if they are according to the strict FIFA regulations. So again, we used color coding options to colorize different zones and rooms and areas. The next, let's say, really important thing on every project is coordination, collision checks, and for these purposes, we every week performed multidisciplinary clash detections, and for these purposes we created more than 300 clash detection jobs, checking each discipline versus different disciplines for different types of distances, collisions, and so on. And it was really heavy and time-consuming process. Using our platform, we try to automate everything as much as possible, and every week we manage to, let's say, compare clash result with the previous weeks, and to in that way monitor entire coordination process, and if design team is actually making good progress or not. And we also were able to create different types of cumulative reports, which were really useful and used, so we can track the progress of, let's say, resolving these issues. When it comes to quantification, which is next really important things, is also using available BIM information to quantify and create cost estimation of entire project. So again, we try to automate entire process as much as possible, and this actually gave more time for all the participants on the project to analyze these results and make this decision on time. And it was really important to let's say, visualize this process to show every participant on the project where are specific quantities, what is the price of specific quantities, and also in this place, entire, let's say, cost estimating team was also involved, where they used available information from the BIM files, from these extracted quantities, and also on top of that, they verified all information, and if needed, they corrected some information, and also it's always a normal thing that some of the elements are not, something is not existing in the BIM files in 3D, so they needed to anticipate and calculate some let's say, cost items which don't exist in the BIM model in order to have accurate cost estimation. For the scheduling purposes, we also try to implement and use advanced scheduling tools. And let's say, instead of just making nice presentational for the simulations or video, we try to improve entire process and add more value to our contractor. So for these purposes, we also try to use available BIM information from the BIM files, so planners can create groups of, let's say, different elements based on location where these elements are, and they also could create different work groups, activities, which needed to be executed. And when the software is mixed these two things, the system actually creates entire schedule. So this is how it works in reality. Once we have it, the planner makes a schedule hierarchy, the template, and the system generates intelligently entire schedule with all respective tasks and relations between tasks. So just to simplify the process, if you, for example, specify that first you want to execute column, then beam, and then the slab, you just have to tell the system that information only once. The system recognizing where these elements are in your 3D file and copies all these relations through entire building. So in that way, you're going to get entire schedule created, entire work plan. And of course, once it's created, you can analyze it, you can even fine-tune it using available resources from the site and so on, and even review it using line of balance. And another really nice benefit is that everything is now connected with 3D elements. So you have cost estimation, cash flow related to your 3D elements. And finally, benefits of using this kind of integrated approach is possibility to generate different types of reports. And these reports could be really valuable for main contractor primarily, so they can check their own subcontractors, control subcontractors and expenses of their contractors, and also they can choose which of these relevant information they want to share with the client. So it was primarily used for the benefit of the client on this specific project. And you may see one of, let's say, interesting facts or interesting ways how these information can be visualized also in a BIM file. And the entire project, I want to conclude this, that entire project is completed 2 years ago, and it has already hosted one of, let's say, FIFA Arab Cup games last year. And in the meantime, our platform and entire, let's say, BIM technologies were improved and evolved, and I wanted to, let's say, show you some of the latest features and possibilities related to reporting. In this case, how you can use all these information in one place as a container of all these relevant data, extract the data, check and verify the data, and from that data include and share relevant information with all participants on the project, which can use this information for their purposes. So that was all from my end. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.